Start your day informed. Ahead, today is Tuesday, the 14th of July. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro.
And I'm Cheska Liton-Calao. We are bringing you the perfect mix of the headlines you need and the conversations that shape your day.
From the news desk to the digital space, we have got you covered. I'm Pauline Berzosa, and welcome to Morning Matters.
Now, on day 4 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial, the defense and senator judges questioned typographical errors in NBI documents in its use in its investigation. NBI BARM Regional Director Jeremy Lotok said the November 6 date in the subpoena and affidavit should have been December 11. Lotok also denied that the investigation was biased, saying it was based on evidence. He added that the NBI found no validated information on alleged threats against Duterte and her family and made no recommendation on the matter. Meanwhile,
considering the structure involving the NBI, the DOJ, and the Office of the President, don't you think that there was bias against VP Sara?
Our investigation, Your Honor, is evidence-based. Nung pinag-usapan ho namin ito, nung ina-analyze ho namin ito, nung nag-follow kami ng mga phases at analysis, we believe and we agree that among ourselves na buo ang ebidensya, kumpleto ang ebidensya, na-comply natin yung requirement ng prima facie case.
Meanwhile, Senator Judge Bam Aquino pressed the defense to clearly state whether Duterte denied speaking to a hitman. The defense said it was denying the allegation and would present counter evidence.
Sir, ang sagot po nyo, kailangan i-prove ng prosecution na merong hitman. And you're not denying that the Vice President spoke to a hitman.
No, we are denying that, Your Honor. It's just that was our presentation and our answer.
Okay, so for the record, you are denying that the Vice President actually spoke to a hitman na, in fact, ang sabi nga ni Attorney Lotok, hindi siya nagsisinungaling.
Yes,
sinasabi nyo, actually, nagsinungaling siya at wala siyang kinausap na hitman. Yan pong sinasabi ninyo.
Yes, Your Honor. I don't know what's the frame of mind of Attorney Lotok, but that is our answer, Your Honor.
Okay.
That she denied.
Well, so unlike last week, the proceeding focused on proving that the video was authentic. Yesterday's proceeding focused naman on whether the NBI's investigation and legal conclusion that the Duterte statements would amount to probable cause for grave threats. And on the other side of the fence, which is the defense, diba, ang kanila naman ay they focused on typographical errors, diba, which actually, sabi nga nila, it didn't negate that the video is there, diba? It's existing.
If I remember correctly, I think Presiding Officer Chiz Escudero also said na parang may template yata silang ginagamit.
Yeah.
And then, kung, yun na nga, they explain also na pag yung kinaka-copy-paste, kung ano yung previous na ano, yun din yung nalalagay. But, I mean, bigger picture, does this matter?
Yeah.
Do the
Oo,
typographical
exactly.
errors matter?
Kumbaga parang ito bang inconsistencies na ito, tawag dito, are significant, diba?
Will it affect?
Will it affect the investigation,
Yes.
or they do not negate the existence of the alleged threat?
Because the defense pointed out even the repeated use of mama, diba, instead of ma'am, which is obviously a typographical error. And that's where the prosecution said nga na there's a template kasi being used. Kaya siguro na-copy-paste at naulit yung term na mama instead of ma'am when they were pertaining to the statements of the Vice President during that video. But actually, Attorney Ligutan had an answer for that. No, he said that infirmities have no bearing in impeachment complaints, and these discrepancies in the documents has no connection to the trial. And he says the focus should still be on whether or not the Vice President betrayed public trust. Because at the end of the day, that's what she is being tried for in this impeachment trial.
So, yung ano rin, ang tawag dito na pag napag-usapan din, nag-resurface ulit yung usapin ng Operation Romanov, na kailangan ba na i-prove ng defense na meron talagang Operation Romanov, kaya nagkaroon ng mga ganong threats. So, isa yan sa mga pinag-usapan. They also talked about yesterday on the first part of the hearing kung papupuntahin ba nila si NBI Director earlier than the schedule. And of course, we all saw that Senator Alan Peter Cayetano, actually sabi niya,
Unbecoming daw.
hindi siya pabor doon because sabi niya ganun, are we going
Bad
to be
taste.
adjusting our schedule para sa ganito? Pero in the end, they agreed to have him go on Monday.
Okay.
July 20, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Ano?
Parang I think by the end of yesterday's hearing, Senate President Sherwin Gatchalian said nga na pwede siyang Monday kasi importante nga daw talaga
Yung FBI, ano niya.
yung Bangkok event.
Yep.
So he can, may flight naman daw yata Monday
Ng gabi.
night or something.
Pero ako iniisip ko lang kasi ano yung magiging statement ni NBI Director Melvin Matibag dito sa cases na to when in fact hindi pa siya yung NBI Director at that time that they were starting this investigation, which is si former NBI Director
Santiago.
Jaime Santiago. Kaya that's why 'di ba meron siyang statement last week, sabi niya I'm willing to testify before the impeachment court kung tatawagin ako. So that is something that we need to check also kung gagawin ng prosecution ma-invite siya sa impeachment court.
Pero today, ang aabangan po natin, of course, is the appearance of OVP Chief of Staff, Attorney Zulaika Lopez. She will come after si Attorney Lotto kasi meron pa rin siyang tatapusin yung kanyang cross-examination today. But I know dapat nasa schedule na rin si Attorney Zulaika Lopez and she will be a hostile witness for the prosecution.
Pumayag na.
Yes,
Okay,
she was subpoenaed and if she doesn't appear, I believe she could be cited in contempt. So,
Okay.
titignan natin kung talagang dadalo si Attorney Zulaika Lopez. But in other news, the Makati City Regional Trial Court Branch 148 has issued an arrest warrant against lawyer Levito Baligod over 2 counts of cyber libel. The case stems from a complaint filed by Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tiu Laurel Jr., who was accused of receiving kickbacks from flood control projects. Baligod serves as counsel for the 18 individuals who identified themselves as alleged bagmen of former Congressman Zaldico, and the court set bail at 20,000 pesos each count of cyber libel. Okay, so as we know, Attorney Baligod represents the 18 alleged bagmen, right? They surfaced earlier this year and they made that affidavit where they implicated several personalities, lawmakers, congressmen, senators, but even Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tiu Laurel, sabi nila nag-deliver daw sila ng maleta, ng cash sa kanyang bahay daw in Forbes Park. But this is something that Secretary Tiu Laurel has denied. Sabi niya matagal na daw siyang hindi nakatira in Forbes Park. That's why he filed a cyber libel complaint. But on the part of Attorney Levy Baligod, he says he wasn't informed properly daw about this case because the complainant purposefully placed a wrong address daw kaya hindi niya nakuha yung subpoena ba?
Hindi siya nakapag-counter affidavit.
Hindi siya nakapag-explain.
Okay. But this also isn't the only case filed against Attorney Baligod and the 18 bagmen. We've also seen cases filed by former Senator Laila De Lima, Iloilo City Representative Julian Baronda, former Senator Antonio Trillanes IV, Senator Erwin Tulfo, Congressman Zia Alonto Adyong, Manila Rep. Bienvenido Amate Jr., Janet Garrett, marami. Marami kasing napangalanan.
Yeah.
And of course, they took steps to file their own complaints.
Kasi nga they are denying all
Yes.
the allegations made by the 18 alleged bagmen and of course si Attorney Baligod who represents them.
Pero so far, this is the first one na may arrest warrant na, no?
Yes, totoo ka dyan. Tapos meron pa rin isa, if I'm not mistaken, pero hindi pa yata na-file, pero plano mag-file, si Comelec Chairman George Erwin Garcia kasama rin nun. But of course, looking at it on a larger picture, others are quick to point out na bakit nauuna na makasuhan, maaresto yung mga kumbaga hindi kaalyado ng administrasyon, di ba? And does this latest development also would tell us na does this answer or distract us from larger question na what's happening with the investigation of the flood control projects talaga, di ba? Who are the big personalities involved? Where are they now? Bakit wala pa rin kaso na naisasampa sa kanila at this point. So, hindi mo rin maisip, that's a valid kumbaga, question or issue or point na sinasabi nung iba na although we understand na sige kung meron talagang pagkakamali dito yung mga bagmen nito dahil may mga inconsistencies dun sa mga sinasabi nila, kasuhan nyo sila, etc. But where are the others as well? 'Di ba? Huwag natin kalimutan nasa na si Zaldico. 'Di ba? Asa na yung ibang mga personalities involved in the flood control project?
Asan na nga ba si Zaldi?
Yun nga eh. Exactly. The same question.
Huwag natin kalimutan.
Zaldi mo.
Tanungin yun.
It's not my Zaldi.
So,
Wow! Okay, we're gonna move on. President Bongbong Marcos has appointed Dr. Jose Pujalte as the new Secretary of the Department of Health, replacing Ted Herbosa, who resigned due to health reasons. Malacanang said Pujalte brings more than 3 decades of experience as a physician, hospital administrator, educator, and public servant. He joined the DOH in 1991 and completed his orthopedic residency at the Philippine Orthopedic Center. Pujalte earned his medical degree from the University of the Philippines and a master's in hospital administration from the Ateneo Graduate School of Business. The palace said Pujalte is expected to lead the DOH in strengthening the country's healthcare system and expanding access to quality healthcare services for Filipinos. So, former DOH Secretary Ted Herbosa, he said that he will be under extensive rehabilitation for 3 to 4 months. So, it would be unfair kasi nga he wouldn't be able to focus on the things he needs to do in the DOH. But also, last year, I think it was last year, he faced several graft complaints due to alleged wastage of medicines, supposed diversion of health funds, and that travel upgrade to yung business class
Oo nga
trip
daw
to
eh, oo.
Switzerland, I think. But with the new DOH secretary, again, as they said, decades of experience. He's also had fellowship training in Japan, the US, the UK, and specialization of shoulder surgery. Total joint reconstruction, I didn't know that was a thing. Spine surgery, and joint replacement.
I think kasama pa rin dyan dun sa sinasabi nilang cases niya, yung radio show niya. Kasi meron siyang radio show sa ibang channel. Sasabi nila, it's a conflict of interest because he serves as a government official. No? And of course, on the side of Ted Herbosa, sinasabi nga niya, tulad ng sinabi mo, na it would be unfair naman daw kung wala siya, ganyan. Pero prior to this kasi ng mga usapin na ito, di ba, there were issues na rin na talagang naririnig mo na ay papalitan na daw talaga si Secretary Ted Herbosa sa DOH because of a lot of controversies, no? Pati yung PhilHealth Transfer Fund, etc. So talagang inasahan na to nung public.
Well, actually, remember at the start of this year, there was a so-called Unlucky Nine. There was that cabinet revamp that was supposed to happen because President Marcos had a very low trust and approval ratings already. Kaya magkakaroon daw ng shake-up sa kanyang gabinete, and there was that Unlucky 9 secretaries or departments. And so far, marami na ring changes. Just recently, of course, there was DOLE Secretary Francis Tolentino was appointed. Benhur Abalos is now Cabinet Secretary. And actually, si Secretary Herbosa, former Sec, matagal na rin siyang naririnig na papalitan, di ba? Even at the start of this year. Pero ngayon lang nangyari. Pero aabangan din po natin if indeed charges will be filed by the Ombudsman against Ted Herbosa because he's also apparently broad mates with Ombudsman Boyeng Remulla. They belong to the same fraternity, even with former Speaker Martin Romualdez. So, di ba may ganung brotherhood
oo.
And sometimes, baka yun pa yung maging cause ng delay of before they file any charges.
Ayun. Tsaka yun din yung sinasabi din nila dito, di ba, pagdating kay dun sa mga cabinet revamp na ito, na parang 2 years na lang ng presidency ni President Bongbong Marcos, ano pa yung kayang gawin ng mga reappointments, yung mga bagong appointments niya in the cabinet. We'll see what's going to happen.
All right, don't go away. Morning Matters will be back after a short break.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Today marks the 5th day of the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. And to tell us what to expect, we now go live to our mobile journalist, Merimon Reyes. Merimon?
Pauline, good morning. Yesterday, on the fourth day of the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte, the cross-examination wasn't fully accomplished or finished yet. Senator Judges motioned for the cross-examination to be just cut short and to be continued today. That's why the second witness to be presented, which is NBI Regional Director Attorney Jeremy Lotoc, he will remain seated later at the witness stand. Pero ang nasasabi naman dito, kung sakaling matapos yung cross-examination and no redirect or re-cross-examination will take place, they will proceed with the presentation of the next witness, and that would be the Chief of Staff of the Office of the Vice President, Attorney Zulaika Lopez. According to impeachment court spokesperson Attorney Reggie Tonggol, yung nakikita nilang 7 p.m., 8 p.m., yan na yung parang normal ngayon na magiging tapos ng impeachment trial proceedings. Pero yung nasabi ni Presiding Officer Senator Chis Escudero sa isang podcast niya na meron siyang parang pinopropose na gawing umaga ang impeachment trial schedule, 9 a.m., 10 a.m. hanggang 2 p.m. or before 2 p.m., lahat daw yan i-consider muna. Pero more likely, a decision will be made after the SONA this July 27. Pauline.
Well, Marymon, going back to Attorney Zulaika Lopez, has she signified or committed that she will be attending today's hearing?
Pauline, yesterday we saw Attorney Zulaika Lopez here at the Senate. However, ang nasabi ni Attorney Tonggol, hindi raw kasi na-manifest or nabanggit sa trial proper, sa trial court, yung presence ni Attorney Zulaika. Pero, Presiding Officer Escudero was informed na nandito siya, and the senator judges are expecting Attorney Zulaika Lopez's presence today. Because if not, according to the subpoena, she should show upon the court yesterday and today. So kung nagpakita siya kahapon, they are expecting na magpapakita rin ngayon itong si Attorney Lopez. If not, may due process pa naman daw, pero it is possible na ma-issuean siya ng show cause order o kaya ma-cite for contempt. Pauline.
And if she does appear today, Marymon, siya ay magiging hostile witness ng prosecution. Ano ba yung scope at limitasyon ng pagiging isang hostile witness?
Pauline, ang nag-i-indicate kasi ang House Prosecution Panel na gusto na nila i-qualify or they are planning to qualify itong si Attorney Zulaika Lopez and even Vice President Sara Duterte kung magpakita siya personally as hostile witnesses. Dito kasi yung Prosecution Panel, ang line of questioning nila, medyo magiging mas lenient ito. So instead of just direct examination na parang pre-present nila like any other normal witness sa listahan nila, pwede itong parang ang dating ng questioning nila is cross-examination. So mas mapapalawak yung line of questioning or yung examination on the part of the prosecution panel. But again, kailangan may formal manifestation din yan or motion na manggagaling mismo sa prosecution. And that is also to be considered by the Senate Impeachment Court. Ang nasabi din naman kahapon ni Attorney Tonggol, nag-indicate din naman daw ang prosecution na nakita na nila si Attorney Zulaika Lopez or they're expecting na pupunta rin siya ngayon at maisasalang. And yung nire-request din sana kahapon ng prosecution na isisingit today si NBI Director Melvin Matibag, hindi siya napagbigyan. So yung early testimony niya, hindi siya mangyayari today. So we only have Jeremy Lotoc from the NBI and Attorney Zulaika Lopez from the OVP. Si NBI Director Matibag, Monday next week pa siya maisasalang, and then yung continuation examination sa kanya will proceed kapag nakabalik na sa Pilipinas from the supposed summit na pupuntahan niya sa Thailand. Ulit.
And Marymon, kahapon, one of the things na tinalakay ng impeachment court ay yung pagpasa ng memorandum ng parehong defense at prosecution doon sa pagsapina nga ng BIR, ng AMLAC, pati ng bank records ng Vice President. What else can we expect from that?
Pauline, aside from that, may oral argumentation na scheduled itong prosecution and defense tomorrow, Wednesday. So both the parties have 10 minutes to explain whether or not itong mga bank records, stock records from the BIR, AMLAC records, any financial documents na may kinalaman kay VP Sara sa spouse niya na si Attorney Mans Carpio ay dapat ba o hindi dapat silipin dito. Ang sinasabi naman, pasok din dito yung pinag-uusapan na still sealed na green BIR box na according to Senator Judge Ping Lacson, kailangan nga raw ng authorization from the President. Ayaw niya raw na magkakaroon ng paglabag sa batas pagdating dito kasi we have the bank secrecy law, yung pagdating sa tax records, especially sa highest officials. So lahat ng mga yan, magkakaroon daw ng decision ng impeachment court, hopefully tomorrow. And if ever na yung verdict ng presiding officer, which is Senator Escudero, hindi mapagkakasunduan ng ibang senator judge, kung wari merong tutol, kailangan din daw yung pagbotohan sa trial court. Pauline.
Okay, thank you very much for those updates. I was mobile journalist Marymon Reyes. Now, motorists face higher diesel and kerosene prices starting today, July 14. The Energy Department allows diesel hikes of 2 pesos and 62 centavos to 4 pesos and 62 centavos per liter. Kerosene may also go up by 2 pesos and 22 centavos to 4 pesos and 22 centavos. Gasoline prices, meanwhile, may either drop or increase by up to 1 peso per liter. The final adjustments will vary among oil companies. The DOE blames continuing tensions and threats to shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, which have pushed global oil prices higher. The fragile peace process between Iran and the United States is facing renewed uncertainty after fresh tensions erupted across the Middle East over the weekend. Here's a report.
Iran says an initial peace agreement reached with the United States last month is now in a state of crisis following a weekend of attacks across the Middle East. During a press briefing, Iran's foreign ministry said Iran has never been the first to violate its commitments and blamed Washington for the renewed instability in the region. An Iranian attack on a container ship in the Strait of Hormuz sparked the latest exchange. Iran insists it has the authority to regulate vessel traffic through the strategic waterway and potentially impose transit fees under the terms of the interim peace agreement. The United States disputes that claim, arguing that international law guarantees freedom of navigation through the strait. The U.S. military has also sought to establish an alternative shipping route outside Iranian control. The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the world's busiest maritime choke points, carrying a large share of global oil shipments. Iran and the United States are now nearly halfway through a 60-day negotiation period aimed at reaching a permanent end to the conflict and securing a border agreement on Iran's disputed nuclear program. Whether both sides can keep negotiations on track remains uncertain as tensions continue to rise in the region. The United Nations, meanwhile, condemned the military confrontation in the Gulf region.
The Secretary General expresses deep concern at the serious escalation, renewed military confrontation in the Gulf region, including Iranian attacks on ships on the Strait of Hormuz, attacks by the United States on the Islamic Republic of Iran, and attacks by Iran on targets in neighboring countries. These attacks must all stop, he said.
And now for the latest on the weather, Tropical Storm Josie is now inside the Philippine area of responsibility. Let's get the latest from Pagasa Weather Specialist Charmaine Varilla. Charmaine, ano na ang latest dito kay Typhoon or Tropical Storm Josie?
Yes po, magandang umaga din po sa inyo. At si Bagyong Josie nga o Tropical Storm Josie ay nakapasok ng ating PAR around 12:30 a.m. At sa ngayon, huling namataan yan sa layong 1,085 kilometers silangan ng Eastern Visayas. May taglay na lakas ng hangin na maabot ng 65 kilometers per hour malapit sa sentro at pagbugso na maabot hanggang 80 kilometers per hour. Kumikilos ngayon pa-northwestward o hilagang kanluran sa bilis na 25 kilometers per hour. At sa nakikita nating senaryo ay agad din niyang lalabas ng ating PAR mamayang gabi o bukas ng umaga at walang magiging direktang epekto sa alinmang bahagi ng ating bansa. Habagat ngayon ay siya magpapaulan sa may bahagi ng Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur at La Union. At dito naman sa Metro Manila at nalalabing bahagi ng ating bansa, iiral naman ang mga localized thunderstorm. Yan ang latest mula dito sa Pag-asa Weather Forecasting Center. Charmaine Varilla, nag-uulat.
Charmaine, posible pa bang mag-intensify o magbago ng track itong si Tropical Storm Josie?
Sa nakikita po natin ay pwede pa po siyang mas humina sa mga susunod na oras at maging isang low pressure area na lamang sa labas ng ating PAR. At wala wala tayong nakikita na enhancement nito dito sa habagat po natin.
So hanggang kailan inaasahang lalabas ng PAR ulit, Charmaine, itong si Josie?
Posible po mamayang gabi o bukas ng umaga.
May iba pa bang weather systems na binabantayan ang Pag-asa?
Sa kasalukuyan po ay wala pa naman po.
Alright, thank you very much for that update. That was Pag-asa Weather Specialist Charmaine Varilla.
Good morning mga kapatid. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News. Now, as we know, Day 4 of Vice President Sara Duterte's impeachment trial saw the defense and Senator judges flag typographical errors in NBI documents used in its investigation. NBI Barn Regional Director Jeremy Lotok said The November 6 date on the subpoena and affidavit should have been December 11. Lotoc also rejected claims of bias, saying the investigation was based on evidence. He added that the NBI found no validated information on the reported threats against Duterte and her family and issued no recommendation. Meanwhile, Senator Judge Bam Aquino pressed the defense to state clearly whether Duterte denied speaking to a hitman. The defense said it was denying the allegation and would present a counter evidence.
Sir, ang sagot po nyo, kailangan i-prove ng prosecution na merong hitman. And you're not denying that the Vice President spoke to a hitman.
No, we are denying that, Your Honor. It's just that was our presentation and our answer.
Okay, so for the record, you are denying that the Vice President actually spoke to a hitman na, in fact, ang sabi nga ni Attorney Lotoc, hindi siya nagsisinungaling.
Yes,
Sinasabi nyo, actually, nagsinungaling siya at wala siyang kinausap na hitman. Yan
Yeah.
pong sinasabi ninyo.
Yes, Your Honor. I don't know what's the frame of mind of Attorney Lotoc, but that is our answer, Your Honor.
Okay.
That she denied.
Right, and joining us this morning is House Prosecutor in Manila 3rd District Representative Joel Chua, who says he feared for his safety after being mentioned in Duterte's November 2024 online news conference. Good morning, Congressman Joel, and welcome back to the program.
Hi, good morning ladies. Magandang umaga rin sa lahat ng inyong mga taga-subaybay.
Okay, Congressman, first of all, so that video where Vice President Sara Duterte said expletives and even mentioned your name was replayed yesterday during the trial hearing. Siguro, Congressman, walk us back through what went through your mind and ano po ba yung na-establish ng video na yon?
Well, ang na-establish yun, yung pagiging violent in nature ng ating Vice President. So, nakita na natin na hindi siya isang beses nagbanta, marami siyang maraming pagkakataon siya ay nagbabanta at patuloy na nagbabanta. Nagkataon lamang na isa tayo sa napagbuntungan ng kanyang galit nung panahon na yun.
Well, Congressman, I would also like to ask you because you and the rest of the prosecution panel and other legal luminaries would always say na this is an impeachment case, not a criminal case. Therefore, yung ma-prove kung meron man na contact na hitman, kung meron talagang hitman, is not necessary anymore. Now, for an ordinary person, na magtatanong po tungkol dito sa impeachment trial, ano po ba ang violate ng ni VP Sara dito, no? Nagbanta lang naman po siya eh. Ganyan po talaga magsalita ang mga Duterte. Yan po usually mga tanong po ng ordinaryong tao. Congressman.
Well, unang-una, ang impeachment ay test of fitness. At impeachment, ang isa sa mga grounds dito ay culpable violation of Constitution. Ngayon, tatanungin ng mga kababayan natin, ano naman ang kanyang binayolate? Maliwanag sa ating saligang batas, specifically Section 5, Article 7 ng 1987 Constitution, dito lamang ang ito yung section yung ng Pangulo at ng Vice Presidente na sinasabi nila na ipapatupad nila ang ating batas. And definitely yung pagbabanta ay hindi pagpapatupad ng ating batas. Culpable violation na ng ating batas. Pangalawa, yung betrayal of public trust. Yung betrayal of public trust, ito bang asal na to ng ating Vice Presidente? Ito ba yung asal na ine-expect natin sa pangalawang Pangulo? Sa pangalawang pinakamataas na posisyon sa ating gobyerno? Kung saan ito ang nagre-represent, isa sa mga nagre-represent ng ating bansa? Ganito bang klase ng asal ang dapat na inaasal ng mga opisyal ng gobyerno? So yan ay mga argumento na aming pinipresenta at ito yung mga sinasabi namin na na-violate nila dito sa kanyang mga utterances.
Kong, in a few years ago, at least 4 people were arrested after posting on social media what authorities considered threats, alleged death threats against then President Duterte. How would you differentiate those cases then to the VP now?
That is what we're trying to say. Pagka-ordinaryong tao pa, pwedeng damputin na lang agad-agad. Dahil nakita naman natin na yung mga nagbanta dati sa nakaraang administrasyon kay Presidente Duterte, wala naman talagang kapasidad. May isang nga doon nagsabi na magbibigay siya ng pabuya na worth 50 million. Pero nakita naman natin na wala naman siyang kapasidad. And yet, kung siya ay inaresto at kung paano siya tinrato nung panahon na yun, gano'n na lamang. How much more pa? Natin, alam naman natin pangalaw sa pikitan at may kapasidad. At kung makikita natin, ano ba yung history ng kanilang pamilya? Yung kanyang ama ay nandoon ngayon sa dahig na humaharap sa kaso na EJK. So makikita natin lahat na meron talaga silang kapasidad na tutuhanin itong banta.
Congressman, going back to November 2024, when the Vice President had that online press conference at kung saan nabanggit niya po kayo, why did you decide to increase your security? Did you really increase your security? Did you fear for your life? And did you actually think that the remarks of the Vice President pose a credible threat?
Of course, that is a credible threat and that is an absolute threat. And in fact, hindi lang ako ang nabahala sa aking seguridad, pati ang aking mga kaibigan at ang aking pamilya. In fact, sila talaga ang nag-insist na mag-increase ako ng aking security dahil nga dito. Dahil hindi naman may pagkakaila lahat sa atin kung ano ang kapasidad ng mga Duterte. And in fact, sikat na sikat at kilala ang Duterte Death Squad. So, hindi mo po pwedeng baliwalain ang ganitong klaseng mga pagbabanta.
Okay, so today po, inaasahan po natin na will take the stand si OVP Chief of Staff Zulaika Lopez. Ano po ang significance ng kanyang pagiging hostile witness po ng prosecution? And what do you expect doon po sa what information that you hope that you could get from her without divulging the merits of the case, Kong?
That is a matter of legal strategy that I cannot discuss as of now. Siguro antayin na lang natin mamaya kung ano po mangyayari.
All right. And of course, yesterday, another point of contention would be the typographical errors. How big of a deal is this? How much does this matter?
That is correct. For me, maliwanag na maliwanag. Ang video ay may pagbabanta. Ang findings nasa record. So ngayon, ano ang sagot dito ng depensa?
Pero Congressman, yun nga po yun yung naging focus ng defense kahapon. Yung typographical errors, yung ma'am, naging mama, yung discrepancies rin po sa dates nung affidavits. Tanong ko lang, Congressman, were these spotted before the trial on the part po ng prosecution?
Well, I'm not aware of that because I'm not the one handling this case. But in any event, assuming for the sake of argument that there was or there is indeed error or typographical error, so would it change kung ano man ang sinabi o yung laman ng video? Magbabago po ba yung sinabi ng ating Vice Presidente? Remember, ang pinagbantaan ng ating Vice Presidente ay Presidente, head of the state.
So para sa inyo, Congressman, mababaw yung ganong argument focusing on discrepancies kung what we're talking about here is a betrayal of public trust and grave threats. Kasi nabanggit din po yan kahapon ni Attorney Ligutan that these infirmities have no bearing dito sa impeachment case ni VP Sara.
Hindi lang sa wala itong katuturan. Sa totoo lang, wala namang denial on their part na itong threat hindi ginawa ng ating Vice Presidente. And in fact, nagbibigay pa sila ng legal justification kung bakit ito nasabi ng ating Vice Presidente. Kung hindi ako magkakamali, ito'y sinabi ng abogado mismo ng ating Vice Presidente nung nakaraang impeachment trial. So, maliwanag Sinabi, maliwanag itong threat, maliwanag sa video, pero hindi nila dinideny.
But I remember yesterday po, Congressman, si Senator Mig Zubiri pointed that out dun sa defense attorney nila, and asked nga po na wala naman daw pong denial on their part na sinabi ito ng bise. No, pero sinabi po ng defense, if I remember it correctly, maglalabas daw po sila ng evidence on this. We don't know when, but they said that there is an evidence na she denied this. Your thoughts on that po and reaction?
To what they said during the last hearing. Remember, sinabi nung depensa na nung nakaraang hearing, bago magsarado ito, sinabi nila na may legal justification bakit ito nasabi ng ating Vice President. That is on record. So, are they saying na nag-iiba na naman sila na sasabihin ngayon?
Well, Kong, yun na nga, last week nga sinabi, they said it was a conditional threat, na it was a reaction to alleged threats on the Vice President's life and her family also. And then this week naman po, yung pinag-uusapan is whether or not she contracted a hitman. How relevant is the actual, contracting of a hitman as related to proving that she uttered the threats?
Wala. Sa totoo lang, wala naman talagang conditional threat. Well, I will give you an example. Pag hindi ka nagbayad ng iyong utang, papatayin kita. Ayun ba, kung pwede bang sabihin, gawing depensa na conditional threat? So pag gayon, binanggit at sinabi, pwede mong kasuhan ng grave threat kung sino man ang nagbanta sa iyong buhay. So walang conditional threat dito. That is palusot lamang nila.
Pero attorney, throughout the course of the trial, at least for this article, may balak po ba ang prosecution na magpakita ng kahit anong evidence that the Vice President contracted an assassin or a hitman? Kasi parang last week natanong po si Attorney Ligutan yan, and he answered in the affirmative. Sabi niya, yes, may witness kami or may evidence po kami.
Siguro antayin na lang natin kung ano yung kanilang magiging tugon dyan. But for me, maliwanag. Hindi naman dito pinag-uusapan yung assassin. Ang pinag-uusapan dito ay yung threat. Yan bang threat na yan ay dapat sinasabi ng pangalawang Pangulo sa Pangulo? So yun po ang tanong dyan.
But how do you respond to the defense's claim na bias daw po yung naging investigation ng NBI, even noting that NBI is under the executive department?
Alam mo, being head of the state, automatic talaga, pagka pinagbantaan ng Pangulo, dapat automatic talaga na ito ay iniimbestigahan ng kahit na anong departamento ng ating gobyerno na may because any threat against the President is a national security concern. Nakita naman natin, kagaya kanina ng hinalimbawa ninyo, nung panahon ng nakaraang administrasyon, ordinaryong mamamayan lamang inaresto. How much pa ngayon ang nagbanta pangalawang Pangulo na by law ay successor, constitutional successor ng ating Presidente.
Ang pinapoint out po kasi Kong ng iba na sinasabi nila, sige, mag-investigate ang NBI. Pero did they even coordinate with the security group of the Vice President regarding this? Parang yun yung sinasabi nila na being biased on the investigation.
What do you mean security group of the Vice President? Baka security group ng Presidente.
Yung pang sinasabi nila na, okay, so yung ang Vice President natin ay nagkaroon ng threat, etc. Pero bakit hindi sila nakipag-usap doon mismo sa security also ng Vice President? Yun din po yung pinupunto ng iba na kaya may mga, kumbaga sinasabi nila, bias din yung investigation.
I think yung threat against the Vice President ay sinabi ng Vice Presidente at kahapon pinakita naman na sila ay sumulat at iniimbitahan nila ang ating Vice Presidente para maimbestigahan to. But unfortunately, hindi naman umapir doon yung ating Vice Presidente. Yung threat sa Vice Presidente ay galing sa salaysay ng ating Vice Presidente. Yung threat against the President ay maliwanag na nakita na nasaksihan ng buong bayan. So yun nakita natin lahat. Wala bang gawin ng dito?
Right, Kong, so far we've seen two witnesses take the stand. Last week, si John Mark Calilong, and then just yesterday, si Attorney Lotok. How would you say that they've affected the case for the prosecution side?
Well, ay, lalo lamang tumibay yung sa prosecution at na-meet na ng prosecution yung talagang kinakailangan na patunayan dahil hindi naman nila kinwestiyon yung authenticity ng video. Yun ay ine-expect namin na kanilang babasagin. Pero fortunately for us, ginamit din nila ito bilang ebidensya sa kanila. Kaya it will only prove na talagang authentic yung video.
Congressman, balikan ko lang po si Attorney Zulaika Lopez kasi marami po talagang nag-aabang ng kanyang magiging testimony today if she does take the stand after Attorney Jeremy Lotok. I know you don't want to divulge your legal strategy just yet, pero ano po ba yung magiging value ng testimony ni Attorney Zulaika dito sa impeachment proceedings?
Mamihan naman i-offer nila, pero kung akong tatanungin, yung statement ni Zulaika ay hindi na mahalaga dahil napatunayan na yung mga sinabi ng ating Vice Presidente ay talagang nasabi niya nung araw na yun.
Okay, so si former NBI Director Jaime Santiago has said in one of his interviews last week, if I'm not mistaken, that he is willing to testify before the impeachment court kung siya po ay iimbitahan. Is this something that the prosecution team is considering as well, na maimbita po siya? Kasi I understand wala po siya doon sa list ng witnesses po ninyo nung pre-trial. But we're also wondering if kung si Attorney Melvin Matibag ang magsasalita, iimbitahan next week, ano po yung masasabi niya? Because hindi pa po siya yung NBI director at that time nung nangyari po yung investigation.
Well, that is already giving advance info. So hindi namin pwede i-repeat kung ano yung sasabihin ng aming testigo.
Pero are you considering or the prosecution team is considering po ba si former NBI director na maimbitahan din po para mag-testify?
I think naka-line up siya sa Monday. But actually, yesterday we wanted him to testify today or after the NBI regional director. But unfortunately, sabi nga nung impeachment court, dahil may 5-day notice ruling kami, so he will be invited come Monday.
Kong, and then the defense also clarified na yung bloodbath that the VP mentioned refers to her own blood and doesn't refer to any kind of violence. Does this change anything in the scope of the impeachment trial?
Well, wala namang bearing yung statement na yun.
Right. Well, Congressman, the prosecution, alam naman po natin, has allocated 11 days for this particular article of impeachment, yung sa grave threats. So far, 3 days na po ang natapos, which means you still have 8 more days for this article. Pero kung kayo po tatanungin, Congressman, sa tingin niyo po ba na-establish niyo na po yung inyong evidence for this article? Or is the prosecution still in the midst of building its case?
Tingin ko, insofar as the prosecution is concerned, na-establish na yung evidence at yung gusto namin patunayan. And in fact, hindi naman nila ito na-rebat. At talaga namang inaamin pa nila. So, wala na sa tingin kong dapat pang patunayan ito.
Yung pong susunod, ano po yung susunod na article of impeachment na i-discuss after this Article 4? And which article po kayo of the impeachment makakasama? Kayo po ba ay isa sa aabangan, maaari naming abangan na kumbaga mag-examine din ng mga witnesses?
Ang susunod na article, yung Article 1, which is confidential fund. So, ako ang
lead prosecutor dyan.
Puro abangan nyo. Price na lang.
Surprise.
Kung mas magiging contentious po ba itong article na to? Yung article po ninyo?
Medyo mas mabusisi ito dahil unlike yung kasalukuyang article, no, res ipsa loquitur. Ibig sabihin, that thing speaks for itself. Yung mismong binitawan ng salita ng Vice Presidente, yun na yung mismong ebidensya namin. Unlike dito sa confidential fund, dito, papel-papel to, record document ang pag-uusapan dito. And of course, yung inaabangan din ng lahat, yung statement ni Ramil Matigaga at ng iba pa.
Alright, mukhang si Congressman Joel ay papunta na ng Senado for Day 5. Tama ba? Day 5 of the impeachment trial. Week 2. Oo. And with that, thank you so much for sharing your time with us. That was Congressman Joel Chua. Okay, now don't go away because we still have more matters to discuss after this quick break. Keep it here on One News.
Good morning. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News.
The defense team of Vice President Sara Duterte challenged the National Bureau of Investigation's probe into her alleged threats against President Bongbong Marcos during the 4th day of the impeachment trial. And for more details, we have mobile journalist Arles de los Santos reporting live for us this morning. Arles, balikan muna natin yung highlights ng cross-examination ng defense kahapon. Ano ba nangyari?
Well, so far, Pauline, may mga question kasi ang cross-examination ng depensa patungkol nga sa ikalawang witness ng impeachment trial ni Vice President Sara Duterte na si NBI Special Agent Jeremy Lotoc. Sumentro ito doon sa umano'y timeline ng kanilang pagfa-file ng kanilang preliminary investigation at maging ng request sa DOJ para nga umano ireklamo si Vice President Sara Duterte ng kasong grave threats. Pero meron kasi doon ng mga question, for example, January 30 kasi Pauline yung kanilang recommendation, tapos February 5 bumalik sa kanila yon saying na insufficient para ito para ma-file nga yung umano'y reklamo at may mga checklist inilista namely 7 yon. Kung saan nga nandoon nakalista yung mga kulang na mga dokumento kagaya na lamang ng affidavit ng kung sino man yung nag-record ng video, yung timeline, sino-sino yung mga involved doon at kabukod doon yung impormasyon na naglalaman mismo or yung CD, DVD, USB na kung saan nga nandoon mismo yung file maging yung transcript stenographic notes ng kabuuan ng 2 oras na mahigit na impeachment controversial na online press conference ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Pero hindi raw si Attorney Lotoc ang pinakamakakasagot nito dahil sa kanya sa Cybercrime Division yung investigation lamang na kanilang ginawa, hindi yung pag-file na mismo ng reklamo. At kabukod dyan, Pauline, may mga typographical errors din na napansin ng ating senator judges.
Okay, Arles, ang inaabangan ng marami ay kung magpapakita nga ba si Attorney Zulaika Lopez ngayong araw dahil siya ay ipinasabina ng impeachment court. So nakita mo na ba si Attorney Zulaika dyan sa Senate?
So far, Pauline, hindi ko pa nakikita si Attorney Zulaika Lopez pero kahapon ay nandito siya. And tinanong din natin sa spokesperson mismo ng defense kung ano yung magiging approach nila dito kay Attorney Zulaika Lopez. Kasi ang tanong syempre kung i-cross-examine ba nila ito. Ayon kay Attorney Powa ay nakadepende pa umano yan sa magiging pagtatanong ng prosekusyon at kung may mga kailangan na impormasyon pa sila na idagdag doon. Kabukod doon, Pauline, syempre ay yung posisyon din ng depensa sa magiging testimonya ni Attorney Zulaika Lopez na kasama ni Vice President Sara Duterte ng sa gawa nga yung press conference noong November 2024.
At bukas, Arles, nakatakdang magkaroon ng oral arguments ang parehong defense at prosecution. On the part of the defense, may posisyon na ba sila kung dapat nga bang ipasapina ang bank records, AMLAC records, at ang tax records sa pagbubukas ng BIR, o yung green box na tinatawag?
Kahapon, Pauline, ay nagkaroon ng quick interaction ang mga prosecution at ang defense personalities. Pero ayun ay para lamang ipasa daw yung kanilang comment doon sa memorandum na hinihingi nga yung kanilang posisyon sa pagbukas ng bank records, tax records, at nang maging ang tala ng AMLAC. Sinubukan natin makuha kay Attorney Powa yung kanilang posisyon pero ayaw daw nila pangunahan ang Senate Impeachment Court at abangan na lang natin bukas kung paano gugulong ang oral argument sa pagitan ng depensa at prosekusyon sa pagbubukas ng BIR tax records ni Vice President Sara Duterte at ng asawa na ito na si Attorney Manasseh Scaclio.
Okay, thank you very much for that update. That was mobile journalist Arles de los Santos.
Now at this point, let's get updates from the prosecution. We have mobile journalist Amy Atienza. Amy, go ahead.
Yes, good morning Angela. Para naman no sa panig ng prosekusyon, narinig na natin no yung kanilang naging examination na para nga dito kay NBI BARM Regional Director Attorney Jeremy Lotoc, kung saan nakita at naipaliwanag ni Lotoc no yung naging proseso nila sa investigasyon pagdating dito sa video press conference ni Vice President Sara Duterte dated November 23, 2024. And during the examination, napakinggan natin no na meron daw prior statements na ginawa pa si Vice President Sara Duterte dated October 18, 2024 naman na nakikita rin no ng witness mismo na si Lotoc na naging panimula para nga doon sa pagbabanta ni VP Sara laban kay Pangulong Bongbong Marcos, First Lady Liza Marcos at kay dating House Speaker Martin Romualdez. Doon sa prior statements no Angela, para nga nagiging thought dito ni VP Sara doon sa video niya ay yung beheading the president na hindi naman daw talaga dapat na tinotolerate no at meron daw statements yung iba't ibang ahensya ng ating pamahalaan hinggil nga dito na nagsasabi na itong threat na ito ay seryoso at totoo at kinakailangan pa ngang maimbestigahan. For the side of the prosecution, no, nakita rin natin may ilang video clips na ipinakita not only pertaining to the threats to PBBM and also to the First Lady and the former House Speaker, pero kahit si House Prosecutor and Manila Representative Joel Chua ay nabanggit din at after nga nung presentation ng videos na yon ay nagkaroon pa ng mini press conference itong si Representative Chua kung saan sinabi niya nga no na medyo nakakatakot nga daw talaga yung nangyaring pagbabanta na iyon, yung pagmumura ni VP Sara laban sa kanya na kung before ay wala siyang security, kinakailangan niya magdagdag at syempre he has to take that seriously also given the history of the Dutertes for killing nga. So yun, titingnan pa natin kung ano pa nga yung magiging pahayag ng prosecution pagdating sa mga susunod pang witness na darating dito mismo sa ikalawang linggo ng impeachment trial ni Vice President Sara Duterte. Pero so far ay tuloy-tuloy naman daw sila na yun nga magpapakita ng mga ebidensya at dokumento para nga mapatunayan itong grave threats ni VP Sara laban sa gobyerno. Angela?
Amy, so today, no, inaasahan natin yung pagdalo ni OVP Chief of Staff Attorney Zulaika Lopez. Sa mga naging panayam mo dyan sa prosecution team, ano daw yung maaaring maibigay niya? Paano makatutulong yung kanyang magiging testimonya bilang isang hostile witness dito sa investigation, dito sa impeachment trial against the Vice President?
Well, gaya nga nung nasabi mo, Angela, no, hostile witness itong si OVP Chief of Staff Attorney Zulaika Lopez pagdating dito sa second day, which is expected din no, na magpakita nga for the second day of the second week of the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte. At nasasabi kasi dito, kasama kasi si Attorney Zulaika Lopez pagdating doon sa video press conference nga ni VP Sara noong November 23, 2024. So meron siyang video clips doon na kasama din siya mismo at involved siya. Meron siyang participation pagdating doon sa press conference na ginawa nga ni VP Sara noong Nobyembre 2024. Ang titingnan ngayon ay kung gaano nga ba ka-relevant din or talagang nasasabi din kasi no na justifiable kasi yung pagdalo dito ni Attorney Lopez lalo na dahil nga nandoon siya mismo sa video press conference at kasama din siya doon sa naging recording ng mga NBI agents na kanilang sinabpina para nga dito din sa process for investigation.
Alright, thank you so much, mobile journalist Amy Atienza.
Filipina tennis star Alex Ayala paid a courtesy visit to Malacanang Palace on Monday following her historic campaign at the 2026 Wimbledon Championships. Ayala was welcomed by President Bongbong Marcos and First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos during her visit. The president hosted a homecoming reception in honor of the Filipina tennis standout, recognizing her achievements on the international stage. During the event, Marcos described Ayala as a true fighter and a true champion, saying she has made Filipinos proud.
I really am so happy to have you here. You cannot imagine. I suppose it doesn't need repeating, but I'll repeat it anyway. You have brought such pride to the Philippines, to the Filipinos, And not only because of your success, but also because the grace with which you handle that success. Because the way you play and the way you comport yourself makes us proud. Because you show the greatest, best qualities of Filipinos. So you remind us why we are a great race.
Hearing that come from you, I feel like all the hard work that I've done is seen. All the hours that aren't on TV are seen and validated and appreciated. So thank you so much.
Stay tuned. Morning Matters returns after a quick break.
Good morning and welcome back. You're still watching Morning Matters here on One News.
As we know, Office of the Vice President Chief of Staff Attorney Zulaika Lopez is expected to testify today as the impeachment trial of Vice President Sara Duterte enters its fifth day. Lopez's testimony will focus on the fourth article of impeachment, which involves Vice President Sara Duterte's alleged threats against President Bongbong Marcos, First Lady Liza Araneta Marcos, and former House Speaker Martin Romualdez. The prosecution said they will seek to have Lopez declared a hostile witness. This would allow the prosecution to question Lopez as if conducting a cross-examination. Joining us now to provide insight on the latest developments in the impeachment trial is University of the East Political Science Professor Eric De Torres. Professor, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me in your program.
Okay, Professor, to start, what for you were the highlights and main topics that we need to pay attention to that were discussed on the fourth day of VP Sara's impeachment trial?
Well, of course, the testimony of yesterday's witness basically would, substantiate the way that we intend to look at the manner by which Article 4 is being, taken upon. But more importantly, I think it's the manner by which how the prosecution starting to slowly establish that, of course, and of course, the defense would also would take note of this, that the authenticity basically of the said video. So that was a clear manner by which for the past few days it was actually established. So it's actually a very strong, case and giving points basically to the prosecution in this manner.
Well, Professor, with Attorney Zulaika Lopez expected to testify today, what do you think are the key issues or developments should the public watch for during her testimony, given that she is a hostile witness?
Well, of course, I think that the prosecution would try to establish basically or find, the facts or information, how was it delivered by the Vice President, because she was technically with her during the said time. Probably also I'm trying to anticipate that, what was the context by which how it was delivered by the Vice President, because if you can see the video, there's really full of emotion and anger on the part of the Vice President. So I think the best person on the side of the prosecution to be able to really provide light and information with regard to this is no other than her chief of staff. So I think those are in anticipation, what is she doing there with the Vice President? In her recollection, probably what was the context and the mood or the emotions back then by the Vice President? Because I think that the prosecution would like to solidify the manner by which the threat is actually serious, whether conditional or otherwise.
Now, speaking of a conditional threat, Professor, that's actually the argument that defense is heavily anchoring their defense on, right? But alam naman po natin, the burden of proof is still with the prosecution. For you, Professor, do you think that the prosecution should still establish that the Vice President contracted an assassin, that she actually spoke to a person to kill the individuals that she mentioned?
Well, it's very important to look at this from the right context. First of all, I think it was clear that the authenticity of the video was established. Second, regardless of, I think, if it is a conditional threat or otherwise, it is imperative for us to look at that she is the second highest ranking leader in our country, by which whatever she says, especially this is a serious matter of hiring an assassin to kill the president, the first lady, and basically the former house speaker. So that alone is unbecoming basically of a vice president for that matter. So you could look at it as such that this is a very serious accusation. This is a very serious remark, regardless of whether it is conditional or otherwise. Because what would this give, send a message upon to the people by which your second highest ranking, leader in the land basically is, having this kind of threat to the president?
Picking up off of Paui's question, since the defense is saying that the burden of proof lies with the prosecution on whether to show that the vice president contracted or didn't contract an assassin, how is this relevant in trying to establish that the vice president actually uttered the threats?
Well, I think they just want to substantiate and justify it based on what will be the outcome of their cross-examine or examining her chief of staff later, because I think it was clearly established already. So it is something that the prosecution needs just to solidify and want to establish basically that perhaps there's a problem, or the vice president, because of probably emotional instability or basically issues with regard to her behavior. So that's, I think, in anticipation that the prosecution would like to establish by which she uttered those remarks and have that kind of press so to speak.
Well, Professor, I want to ask you about the pulse of the masses. There is a recent survey done by the Tangere that shows that the prosecution with a slight edge, in the public's opinion. What do you think about this? Do you think this is based on the strength of the case or the evidence being presented during the past days of the trial, or is it too early to draw conclusions?
Well, two things. First of all is based on the perhaps evidence and the way that the case is actually being tried. Second, and more importantly, is the manner by which the delivery and the approach basically of both the prosecution and the defense. So if you look at the numbers, there's a slight manner. But of course, I would also like to, for example, question also the approach or the methodology, considering that how fast, considering that they were able to come up with such data, considering that the hearing only began for just
Last
3
week.
days. Yes, last week. So it's also very difficult to give an overall assessment whether or not really there's really credibility as such, because 3 days is very short. So doon ka pupunta ngayon doon sa paano nagpresenta yung approach, kasi kung titignan din natin, mas confident at saka mas malinaw yung pag-uusig ng prosecution. Tapos nakita natin nung kinross examine, medyo nasanay. Well, of course, hindi din naman natin mapupulaanan yung bawat isa kasi kung makikita natin, yung mga abogadong ito, sanay sa litigation sa korte. So, sa korte, mas technical. Dito, yung entablado ninyo, hindi siya technical kasi meron kang madla, meron kang Filipino people na hindi ganun ka-technical na katulad yung audience mo sa loob ng courtroom. So, nakita na-establish ng prosecution, mas malinaw, mas klaro, mas naiintindihan yung kanilang delivery or approach. Kaya, nakagain ng traction. But, of course, assuming that the methodology is okay, kasi ang reservation ko doon is that it's only 3 days. So, it's quite early and kung paano nila sinamarize and gather all the data.
Oo, Prof, kasi actually yung observations din ng iba, no, is that this impeachment trial has become too technical, over-judicialized, parang litigation talaga, may maraming objections on the part of the defense and then the prosecution, ganun din po. But what do you make of how the presiding officer, Senator Cheese Escudero, has been handling the proceedings, especially yesterday, parang mas napabilis at mas naging exhaustive na kahapon yung trial, Professor?
Well, we have to give credit to the presiding officer as he was able to preside well in terms of the technicalities. May mga tinitignan siya na talagang dinumero at saka yung kanya, well, of course, that's given because of, again, his background, legal background, and a seasoned lawyer and, seasoned with regard to the impeachment trial. But, of course, at the end of the day, what is very crucial in looking at it, the overall picture of this impeachment trial is, of course, the very credibility of the presiding officer himself. So, what is crucial here basically is the credibility of the overall impeachment trial by which the senator judges would be able to ask questions, how the presiding officer will be able to preside well, but there's really an issue with regard to his credibility because we all know for a fact that he's one of the key personalities being, alleged form part of the overall flood control scandal. So, on the back of the Filipino people, he's not yet out of the loop and, there's no finality and, rendered judgment as such with regard to his, issue on the flood control scandal. So, it really would affect. But the narrative now is being shifted upon the whole impeachment, process. Medyo nalilihis na doon sa pag-question ng kanyang kredibilidad at nakikita din na natatabunan kasi na-handle niya ito ng maayos in a way.
One of the major concerns last week also was the pacing of the hearings. As Pawi mentioned, maraming objections and it was getting hard to retain public interest because people either couldn't understand what was going on or everything was taking too long. How would you compare last week's proceedings compared to yesterday?
I think they're warming up and at the same time perhaps this is also a good opportunity for the presiding officer to call a meeting upon to both prosecution and the defense that this is not a courtroom and this impeachment trial really is really your audience basically is the Filipino people. So you have to make it less technical and less very judicial in approach. And I think both prosecution and the defense has basically or have the responsibility to make their approach more understandable on the part of the Filipino people.
Well, to your point, dagdagan ko lang din, Professor, yun nga po, people are tuning out because this procedure has become too legalistic. And as you pointed out, na ang pinaka-importante dito na audience is the Filipino people. So how would the defense as well as the prosecution, kumbaga connect, or related to the public, o kumbaga aside from the senator judges na sila po ang magde-decide doon sa kapalaran nitong case na ito, 'di ba? So papaano po makukumbinse ang mga Pilipino tungkol po dito sa impeachment trial without them tuning out?
Sa tingin ko, yung paraan ng pagkumbinse, unang-una, unahin yung paggamit ng, of course, dagdag effort sa kanila, pero part yun ng responsibility nila, yung lengguwahe na mas maiintindihan ng ating mga kababayan. Paggamit ng Tagalog o paggamit ng pag-Taglish, pagkombinasyon ng Filipino at saka English, kung technical yung term o Latin term na mayroon talagang mahirap talaga, pwede nilang itagalog at ganun. So yung interest ng taong bayan later on, kung makikita natin, bababa siya kapag ka naging technical masyado yung approach mo. Mahalaga na dapat gumamit din sila ng lengguwahe na mas maintindihan. Kaya kung mapapansin natin, no, maganda yung approach ng prosecution kasi tinatagalog, kinukombinasyon niya ng English at saka Tagalog yung lengguwahe. So, mas tingin ko may appreciation at mas naiintindihan as compared, for example, kung pansinin niyo nung day 3 nung kinross examine ng council yung witness, basically si Kalilong, napaka yes or no technical English. So tingin ko lalo na sa ating mga kababayan, napaka hirap ng ganitong klasing approach kung sakali.
Actually, kahapon, Professor, di ba, nagwaray pa nga si Attorney Ligutan, pero yung defense made an objection, pero inargue naman niya ni Attorney Ligutan na ang waray is part of the Filipino language, kaya hindi rin naman na inaddress yan ni Presiding Officer Cheese Escudero. But Professor, let's talk about the senator judges. There is an observation that some of them appear to be lawyering also for a particular side, especially for the defense. Do you share that sentiment, Prof?
Yes, that's why it's very important to see that objectivity on the part of the senator judges, because at the end of the day, whatever will be their decision, their verdict to either convict or otherwise, there will be no question if the people would see the partiality of our senator judges. And more importantly, may mga iba ding nakikita na parang they do not have any interest because they're doing something in their respective phones and so on and so forth. So people are watching, people are observing basically because this is you're trying to basically impeach, or you're trying to 32 million Filipino voters voted for her. And her political capital is basically still on a steady level. So you're going and the next a presidential by 2028. So the people are watching, the people are observing, and yun nga yung sinasabi natin ano man yung maging desisyon nila, pero pag nakita ng taong bayan, credible, maayos at maganda yung pagkakagawa dahil objective sila, hindi yun ka-questionin pero kung katulad na naman diyan sigalot and anticipation, and let us anticipate that it's going to be a challenge with regard to the ruling of the 2/3 of how many will be the threshold of voting to for the senator judges. It's going to be very contentious.
Speaking of contentious, we've also seen exchanges between senator judges regarding even questions being asked. Are there right questions? Are there wrong questions? Your thoughts on this, Professor?
Well, I hope whether right or wrong, we are hoping that these are substantive questions that would that really has something to do with cases, with the case. And we would also appreciate that senator judges is standing to ask these substantive questions and not just to grandstand. Of course, we all know for a fact that whether we like it or not, this is also a good publicity for them, especially those who would be a re-electionist for 2028. May libre ka ng exposure dito. But regardless of this, I hope their intention should be still focused, objective at all times, and at the same time, the line of questioning is something substantive.
Well, how will an acquittal or a conviction impact the political landscape? Our political landscape?
Well, definitely, it would have an impact. Two things. First, on the part of the senator judges, if you're a re-electionist or if you are vying for a higher office, this would impact your numbers based on your base votes. We all know for a fact that the vice president or the Dutertes, basically they have their bailiwick is basically Mindanao and half of the Visayas region. So you better think twice again in terms of how you intend to vote. But of course, if the whole impeachment trial would no questions asked because of the credibility, a good approach, partiality, and so on and so forth, whether guilty or acquittal, people will never question. But again, at the end of the day, this will have an impact to those re-electionists, especially on the part of the senators. And of course, more importantly, if you also notice, no, kung makikita natin, and you pointed out a while ago, yung ibang medyo kumakampi or may leaning, it's not helping because it resonates on the part of the Filipino people that we became more divisive. Nakikita natin yung divisiveness ng mga senador na nagre-resonate din dun sa ating mga kababayan kasi mas nagkakampihan, mas may pagkiling doon sa kung kaninong apelido or kaninong pangalan.
Well, speaking of the voting threshold, Professor, some legal luminaries have said that this is now a justiciable issue because Presiding Officer Cheese Escudero has already said that the conviction threshold will be 16 or 2/3 of all members. And he said anyone who disagrees is free to raise this before the Supreme Court. Professor, para sa inyo, when is the appropriate time to raise this before the High Tribunal?
I think the right time is now. Let us not wait na kung kailan matagal na malapit na. And we are hoping that the Supreme Court would be able to clarify this because this is a very important matter. Mas lalong makakaapekto to doon sa lalong sigalot at hatian ng mga tao. So ngayon pa lang, i-establish na at desisyonan na ano ba talaga yung tamang threshold or bilang. Kasi otherwise, it will just be a point of view, opinion of various legal experts, and it's being used so as to justify and create a particular narrative. So what better way to do this is that Supreme Court should step in and basically decide upon it as early as now.
Professor, we saw at the senator judges, we saw the impeachment go on for, I think, 6 hours yesterday, and they still weren't able to finish the cross-examination on Attorney Lotoc, and even Attorney Zulaika Lopez is scheduled for today. What do you think we can expect in terms of the timeline that we're looking at on day 5?
Yes, this is a very good point. I think there was a proposition by Presiding Officer Senator Escudero that the trial will be moved at 9 a.m. in the morning to 3 so that they can focus on the afternoon on their legislative work. This is actually a very perhaps welcoming date or schedule because my fear basically is we're very much focused on this impeachment trial and we're not focused on looking at the budget. It's the budget season, so we have to be also we monitor, we basically be observants basically of this overall budget process so as hindi na maulit yung flood control scandal at saka yung mga insertions na yan. So yung worry ko is nauubos yung energy lahat ng ating mga senador dito sa impeachment trial and hindi na magawa yung ibang mga trabaho at ang daming trabaho na dapat na gawin na nasa sideline because this impeachment trial is taking too much of their time and energy.
All right. Thank you for your time, University of the East Political Science Professor Eric De Torres.
Thank you. All right, so we'll be expecting later today a fifth day of the impeachment trial, week 2 of the impeachment trial, still on the accusation of the grave threats against the Vice President. Today we'll be expecting Attorney Zulaika Lopez, the Chief of Staff of the Vice President, to take the stand later on And it is also, she is considered as a hostile witness. But we'll see what's going to happen kasi medyo malayo-layo pang ating tatakbuhin dito sa impeachment na ito. As,
Day 5 pa lang.
Yes, day 5 pa lang kasi 92 days, di ba? So, we'll see.
At least 92 days.
Trial dates.
For
pala.
now.
Trial dates.
92 trial dates. All right, that wraps up today's episode of Morning Matters. I'm Angela Lagunsat Castro.
We hope we've given you just the right start to your morning. I'm Cheska Liton-Calao.
Let's make the day matter. I'm Pauline Verzosa, and we'll see you again tomorrow.
Kapatid, we are one news.
All sides.
All the time.